January, it's been kind of teetering on the edge of failure. But they're getting through, and it is a great success. It's better than anything that was possible under the previous Maliki administration. So the federal budget, moving on to the federal budget, it assumes an oil price of $56 a barrel. It also assumes a daily export of 3.3 million barrels of oil. Now, last month, I think Baghdad managed, or the whole country managed, 2.4 million barrels. So they're way short of what they need. And even if they hit those targets, $56 a barrel is pretty much the high point over the last few months that oil has reached. And considering Iraqi oil generally trades at $4, $5, $6 discount from the highest international prices, they're struggling. Now, there's a 20% deficit built into that budget, and they're trying to raise money through taxes on cell phone SIM cards and other things, and also through bonds, and they're negotiating right now with some large international banks to try and push that through. And the central bank it claims, recently Ali Alak, the chairman of the central bank, claimed that he had $60 billion in foreign cash reserves. I hear from other sources, good sources actually US government sources, who tell me that that is a wild exaggeration. Nonetheless, they have some money, but it's really, really tight. The government of Iraq is really suffering. But on the other hand, the KRG is absolutely bankrupt. They haven't been able to pay civil servant salaries for a long time. And in fact, Ashley Halrami, the Minister of Natural Resources, said very clearly last week at the Sulaymaniyah Forum, he said, we're bankrupt. So the likelihood is that this deal between the Kurds and Baghdad, which is very good for Baghdad politically and absolutely necessary for Erbil economically, will kind of keep limping along. And these are the two great achievements of Abadi's first term. It may not seem like much, his first 6 months of his term. It may not seem like much, but it is. It's a lot. On military affairs, we had some people, some guys working for us who went up with the Hashd, the popular mobilization, the militia army, if you like, that was set up after Ayatollah Sistani's fatwa in June last year, went up last week to Crete to report back, get photos for us and so forth, and report back on the situation there. And they tell us 100% very clearly that the offensive has absolutely stalled. Now, don't believe anything you hear. There are no Iraqi government forces inside Tikrit. They've been held back by snipers. They've been held back by IEDs, like these daisy-chained IEDs, which those of us who were there in 2004 or 5 or 6, we used to see this every day against American forces, and now it's being used by insurgents who are entirely linked back to the early insurgency in the same manner to attack Iraqi government forces. Some of whom are actual army and some of whom are not. So they have terrible problems. This popular mobilization, these young men who took up this call to arms last year suffered tremendous problems with command and control, logistics, just delivering food to them, taking bodies away. Now this is a big issue. According to very good sources, they're losing 200 or 300 guys killed every day, or they have been since the Tikrit offensive began. So they're suffering from very serious resistance. And frankly, their opposition is clever. They're using little tricks like tying little flashlights, to dogs and cats and letting them loose at night. And then snipers from the government side are seeing, or spotters are seeing these flashlights in buildings, and then launching artillery or heavy machine gun fire or even airstrikes at these buildings, and of course expending ammunition uselessly. And this has been going on for the past 3 weeks since this offensive began. The good thing, the positive thing about the stall of the offensive, the militia offensive against Tikrit, is that it gives the Iraqi authorities a chance to take control of it. Because these groups are not controlled by the Iraqi government. They're acting on behalf of the Iraqi government, but they're controlled directly by, well, it appears directly by Iranian Quds Force commanders, and certainly there are the individuals who are running it, people like Hadi al-Amri, are from political parties that were formed in Iran. In fact, Hadi al-Amri's political party, the Badr Brigade, was formed as a brigade of the Iranian Quds Force. So the good thing is this stall means that the MOD which has been running operations, the Iraqi Ministry of Defense in the west of the country, in coordination with the US and in coordination with Sunni tribes, has a chance now to regain control of the offensive because the Hashid has failed. And Khalid al-Ubaidi, the Iraqi Minister of Defense, held a closed-door press briefing a couple of days ago in Baghdad, where he basically said to the journalists, you know, just give me a bit of time, I'm trying to work on this and get this whole thing kind of under professional military control. So that's a positive. And just imagine what might have happened had these militias taken over Tikrit and then turned around and run back down to Baghdad. So the plan to go from Tikrit, here we go, a pointer somewhere, where's Tikrit, and then go up to Beiji, which is just here, and then possibly go across to Hawija there, and then up to Mosul is forget about it. It's not going to happen for any time soon. Beiji, which is the country's major oil refinery, has fell to ISIS control late last year, middle of last year. November there was a much vaunted Iraqi army operation to retake Beiji. They held it for about 2 weeks, and then it was either taken back or put under serious siege, depending on who you talk to. But certainly there's no oil coming out of Beiji right now that is not controlled by ISIS or Daesh. So, in other words, generally Iraq is on an absolute knife edge. Politically and fiscally, there have been some positive moves. You know, it's still they're still in difficult territory, but there's been some improvements. But the military campaign is just really holding the line, and the rise of the Shia militias is frankly a very negative thing for the state, for the Iraqi state. So going back to the points that we were asked to address, I wanted to start with. Sorry, I can't lean back, it appears. I wanted to start with a topic which is close to my heart, and that is Iraq three-stateless already? So basically, that's sort of towards the bottom. So the political relationship between the KRG, the Kurdish Regional Government, and Baghdad is probably looser. The KRG is probably more independent now than most European countries are from each other. They control their own borders, they issue visas. Most public documents like passports and so forth, and driver's licenses, all this kind of stuff, are handled by the regional government, the Kurdish regional government. When Masoud Barzani goes to Washington, he's treated like a head of state, not as the head of a province.